G'day and welcome back for more Survival Impossible. And last week I really did prove that I was heading towards the impossible part rather than the survival part when I stupidly got the Goofy killed. So, it's time to make a bigger, better, smarter, faster, stronger, all the good things, GUFI-too. And I have a few things in mind based on some suggestions and some ideas that people gave and some thinking I've been doing on it since last week of how I can make sure that the GUFI-too is a more successful machine. There are a couple of things I think that will make the GUFI-too substantially more effective quite quickly. The first is I'm not going to use the collector ejector system again. That was probably a mistake, and there's a good reason I very, very rarely use that sort of system. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use 5x5 wheels. The 5x5 wheels may in some ways seem like not the best idea, but they have a significant advantage over the 3x3s in that they will give me the capacity for expansion later on. And that will make more sense later. I've had a good deal of time to think about this, and I know exactly how the expansion will be benefited by having 5x5s. So, the plan is, on the back of this segment, of the back of this Goofy segment, there will be an advanced rotor which will attach to the trailer directly. That'll allow me to have the transfer of cargo. Now, I dropped this down with a few pieces of the, what should I call it? The conveyor junctions, yeah. I dropped that down a little bit because I figured I would struggle to reach anything up above here and didn't want to make it next to impossible to weld up this thing after I get it constructed. So, the next thing to do is actually to rearrange this hotbar to the way that I normally tend to have it. I always like having my light armor block standard, my slopey one, and I think I'll get the corner one as well. Then I want the two conveyor types, so our large ones and our small ones, because they're the blocks that I use more than any others, so it's nice to have them on my first hotbar, and it was driving me slightly nuts that I didn't have them there. Now, cockpit starting here, then we'll have our 5x5 wheels at the rear of it. It's not ideal from a balance perspective, but this positioning will make sense later on once I put these large wheels on here. So we've got our 5x5 rights to start with. Once I figure out how to rotate them correctly. So one like so. Uh-oh. Is it going to let me place the other one? Please let me place the wheel. Although if I can't, maybe I could cheekily let the rotor spin and... Yep. Dang it. That's currently heavier. If I unlock this briefly, will it rotate a little that way? Will it rotate? Will that have been enough? That's the other question. Yes, that worked out perfectly. I can't believe it. Now I should be able to give you an idea of why I was thinking this should allow it for expansion. With the cockpit set above the wheels, you can kind of see that I've got a fairly clear line of sight across where its front connector sits. So, I should be able to attach initially a single drill in front of it. Then, if I've got enough resources now, I might be able to attach a second and third either side of it. And, eventually, a fourth and a fifth in front of the wheels, meaning that the GUFI-too should be able to drill out the full width of itself and create a tunnel that it can actually drive straight into. Just kind of cool. Of course, once I've got 5 drills on the front, I'll probably need to extend the rear of it just to create more of a counterbalance. The other nice thing about the 5x5 wheels, apart from that expansion capacity, is that they will give me more ability to tilt up and down. So the next couple of things I need to place on here are a pair of small conveyors at the back of the cockpit where its conveyor ports are. One of the reasons I've been hesitant to go with an advanced rotor design before was that I stupidly thought that I was going to have to put one of these on there somewhere to convert to the large port for the advanced rotor, but it was very sensibly pointed out to me, I can do a much better job of that with an O2H2 generator, since it has the 2 side ports that match up, and then 1 large port, making this whole thing quite neat and compact. But to place this where I want it, I'm going to need to start placing one of my gyroscopes that I need. I might actually manufacture the parts for all this now and weld it up before I get onto more, so that I can more easily get at all these bits. I think I should have enough material to get the front half of the GUFI-too built, then use the materials that it can collect in order to build the trailer. So the reason I didn't end up putting the O2H2 generator straight on the cockpit is that I wanted to, one, create some space for things like gyroscopes and that side of stuff, but also so that I've got these side ports and top ports of the conveyor junctions for other things to attach to them that I may need to later, like vents and whatnot, but also for possibly attaching engines to them, since attaching an engine on the front of here, a hydrogen engine, is probably going to be very difficult if I don't leave some ports like that. My thought was O2H2 gen there, then advanced rotor onto here, although I am wondering if I have enough room to potentially get away with a medium cargo container on the back of here. Put a medium on there, would it be too much? It shouldn't limit too much upward mobility, I would think. Be a nice extra bit of cargo storage, and it would balance the drills just a little bit. How expensive are these rotors? Oh, they're pretty cheap. I might start with the straight up rotor, and if the balance ends up being too much of an issue, I can always try the medium cargo container later. So, advanced rotor on there like that, then hydrogen engine. We should be able to get away with having it right on the side of the O2H2 gen. One there, and one here. I'm thinking of going along the lines of predominantly hydrogen engine powered for this thing, because I can mine out my own fuel. So hopefully that will work nicely to make this thing able to run a bit longer than it otherwise would, while still being relatively compact. If I decide to go with the medium cargo on the back here, I will probably be able to get a large battery on top, but for the moment, I think I'm going to stick with just mini batteries. I should be able to get them charged up fully so that they can be a nice backup power source to keep things safe later on. And perhaps we go with 1, 2, 3 across there, as I will likely be needing to put some blast door blocks down the back here to prevent the very critical O2H2 gen from being smashed. So that's kind of the core of the design built. I'm hopeful I can run and jump on these wheels to allow me to get on top here. Can't. Because I would really like to get at least 3 gyros on here. I think, given the extra weight and whatnot, I'm probably going to need to have that bit of extra strength. Though, now that I look at that, maybe on the back of these hydrogen engines would be a better spot. One there, and one... What is that? I think that's how I put the other one. I hope they end up lined up. I know I sometimes jokingly mess up my builds and do things asymmetrically, but with something like that, even I like it to be symmetrical. So this should allow me to have 1 on override and 2 set to override it. And I think that'll make my controls a bit easier to handle. Now, we need to have some sort of safety thing for when I inevitably smack myself too hard into the ground and potentially break valuable parts of this. There. And I'll be adding some white accents to this so that it's the red and white, the same as I've been going with so far. Once it's all set up, because then I'll have a better idea of where the white's going to suit. Cool. That should be everything I need. I may use that top gap to put in some batteries, but I'll just hold off on that for now until I get a better idea of what else I want to put on the front here, because I may want to put a timer block. I may want to put a few other things like that. So let's grind that off. So glad I have... so glad I had those blast door blocks on there. That was not graceful. So, gyroscope 1, override. Going to have to try and come up with a more sensible hotbar placement for everything, because I really hamstrung myself with the way I had things done before. GUFI-too engines, toggle block on and off. GUFI-too batteries, toggle block on and off. GUFI-too wheels, toggle on and off. Then, gyroscope. I will have to figure out which way I need to adjust that so that I can have that on my hotbar too. Let's get the drills on the front. Let's get down there to an iron rock. Collect enough iron to build this trailer. So 1 drill. Let's see if we've got enough for 3. Oh, I need to strengthen the suspension so I can get that up. Drill and drill. 1, 2, 3. Hopefully have enough for all of them. Yes, just. That is quite close though. We got a bit lucky there. Got just enough to get this worked out. So hopefully the batteries will last. Ooh. No. Not straight to an iron mine. Straight down to collect some snow so that I can use the snow to charge up the batteries so that the engines have enough fuel in them that I can actually run this thing for a little while. I'll try this out for size, see if I like or hate this pattern of paint for the time being. But this is now ready for me to go and drill some ice. We have 3 minutes of power when I'm driving, so I'm going to have to be very conservative trying to get there in time before the power runs out. And hopefully before my oxygen runs out. It's actually quite nice to drive. The extra clearance makes it much, much easier. Though I probably shouldn't be going at 30 meters a second, that's maybe a little too quick. So I know that one single O2H2 gen will not provide enough fuel for those engines to run constantly at max, but my hope is that once I turn off the batteries, that O2H2 gen should be able to fill up both of the engine's fuel tanks. So that should then allow me to have a greater fuel capacity. Plus, I like the symmetry of it. I think it looks nicer with them both, rather than just having it lopsided and having just one. Now, I don't want to fully charge these batteries, but I want to give them enough charge that they're a bit of a safety net so that I could then drill out some more fuel if I need it. Later on, and over time, I'll gradually accumulate more charge in them. But for now, I think it's probably best if I just get onto drilling that iron out as soon as I've got enough energy in them that they are a valid safety net. Because right now there's so little that I would not call them a valid safety net. Okay, so I want to get the batteries to maybe 10 kilowatts. So what's going to be the best way to do this? Maybe if I should be able to run down here. I'm going to run back to the base, get my oxygen, just leave that there collecting me some power. I'll run back, grab new oxygen bottles, get myself something to drink, and then come back down and it should all be good to go. I know I could have driven the GUFI-too back here, but figured that, well, if I do that, I then use up more power, so I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot there, and I may as well use up this time this way. It made sense in my head at the time. Alright, let's see how much charge we got. Battery. 7 kilowatt hours. Yep, that'll do. Let's turn off the batteries. And now we should start getting fuel, and we are. Fuel tanks are filling very slowly in the engines. But they should fill. And then once that's full, I'll go and collect a bunch of iron. So I want pitch overrides to adjust that on my hotbar. Increase pitch and decrease pitch. So last time I didn't want to put these on my hotbar because it is difficult to get fine adjustment with your hotbar controls, but I think in the end it does work out to be better to have that ability to adjust as I go. Come on, you rotten wheel, get over that hump. There we go. Looks like it might take a little while to burn through all this ice. It looks like I might have to run away from that thrush anyway. Let's go over here a little bit to keep any of those drones from spawning, because the drone spawning is based on my position. I have to be within the antenna range. Doesn't matter if the base is, doesn't matter if a grid that I leave behind is, as long as I'm out of the way of the antenna, nothing bad will spawn from them. And after last week, I really need nothing bad to spawn, because I would like to get some building done. 2.06, 2.05, that's not good. Let's get further away. Oh, that's going quite quick. 2.09, 2.1, yes, good. Okay, we're safe. Feels close when you can see the silhouette up there. Getting through the ice. Got half tanks full. Let's see if I can ditch out that stone while we collect some, while the engines keep running. So I don't really want to bring stone home with me. I'm just out here to get as much iron as I can get. So it really is so much more useful to me. So we are at 37,000 kilograms, which I can just, 35 something, which I can just barely read against the rice. The rice? Read against the ice. Yes, Splitsie, the rice. You're in a rice field. Homeward bound with all of the iron. This is working out quite well. The 3 drills really have great cargo capacity. I do think that if I can get that medium cargo container where the advanced rotor currently is, that would be quite useful. The counterbalance that it'll provide should work really well whenever I'm operating with full drills. Because it's not too far off the gyros being able to manage normally, but I am having to readjust the gyro override a bit so that this is drivable at all. So it's quite frustrating having to constantly use your mouse to change or try and put your hands on the arrow keys to readjust position. And also, even when I've got the gyro override set this way, because there is so much weight in those drills, every time I push down, I get a lot more effect from what I'm doing than when I push upward, meaning that the controls get a little bit weird. I haven't worried about the vent just yet, because the O2H2 generator on there is providing me the necessary oxygen to breathe, but I will at some point do something about that. Oh, I've actually filled the refinery. I managed to collect enough that I filled it. That's awesome. That should give me a pretty good supply of iron, I think. At least a couple of thousand. Right, so plan for the trailer. I want to go with large grid containers. Not large grid containers, large containers. I want to make sure I've got plenty of capacity for getting stuff brought home with this thing. Not just the little bit that I had last time. Last time was very much built around the concept of I need to minimize the inputs into the vehicle. Now, I think I need to look at something that's going to be operating for a much longer term. And that means something that can defend itself as well as carry lots of stuff. And the large containers kind of help me do both of those things because they've got the 3 large conveyor ports on them. So I can line one up to the rotor over here, and then I can ensure that there's one large pointed upward as well. The upward pointing one is a great spot for a turret. So there we go, that should be correct. Let's just make sure I line this up correctly on there. We go large cargo like so. Now, there is a problem with the large cargo container that I've already seen. Probably because I've already run into it in the past. Because it's 5x5x5, the way I lined up the wheels underneath the cockpit, I can't put 5x5 wheels underneath here. I could use 3x3s and try and make this thing roughly level, but I have a different idea in mind. I'm thinking medium cargo container in between 2 large cargo containers. So if I pop that way, I now have a bit that's raised up enough that I can put the wheels underneath that. Then when I put a large cargo container on the back of that, and I'm going to need to override this a little bit. Yeah, there we go. That puts me at a bit of height. So, hey, I said stay there. Oh, wait a second. Okay, we're still on full fuel. Still leave this on for a little bit longer. Stay there and let me build this. So then we go another large cargo container. Same orientation to allow a second turret to be put on. Then a medium cargo container. And then a collector finally on the back. This should work fairly nicely as a way to get a very large trailer on here. I'm also hopeful that with only a single cargo container in front of the forward wheels, and hopefully with the rear ones a bit further back, or a bit further forward as well, I should be able to keep this trailer level. Maybe. If not, I have an idea that was suggested, which I think is pretty cool, which is instead of using a piston as a support under this, put a pair of 3x3 wheels under there and just adjust their height offsets when I need to unlock, and use them as my supports, or just have them sitting above off the ground when I don't. Because it look kind of neat, I think. Let's get these built. Oh. It's kind of nice to have two turrets, and to have the turrets sitting on the large ports. But I possibly could have gone with a hydrogen tank instead of the large cargo container and increased the range of this thing quite dramatically. I wonder if I made a mistake there and maybe that was the better way to go. I really, really don't know. I want to have these 5x5s as far forward as I can get. And I'm going to need to rest this thing upwards. Hang on. If I can manage to turn around, I might even be able to rest this up on the base to keep it elevated without using any power. Ooh. If I don't smash it to pieces in the process. Does that look alright? I did do damage! Ah, oh, Splitsie, you idiot. What are you doing? Why? Oh, how much damage did I do? Oh, that could be worse. Did I damage any of the other ones? No, just the big cargo container. Urgh. Should have been more careful. Maybe the better idea would have been to just add all these on, add the add wheel command to my hotbar, and just lift them up and do it all in one hit. Oh, I can't add them to my hotbar when they're not built. Oh, that's infuriating. Can I add the unbuilt ones? No. Fantastic. Urgh. Can I override the gyros gently enough to lift all that up? Not break everything. It looks like it. So I can manually do that. Huh. I just realized. Because you can jump up on the 5x5s. Even moving the GUFI-too around will be somewhat useful as a temporary scaffold type vehicle. It can get me up to probably at least one block beyond where I normally am. Potentially... no, it's probably just one. What I'm now thinking for the trailer is I should be able to put a battery on top of each of the medium cargo containers, a turret on top of each of the large cargo containers, and put potentially a pair of O2H2 gens to fill up the engines more quickly, and maybe even a pair of engines at the back here, just so that I've got some extra tank capacity, so to speak, in those two engines, in addition to these ones, that I'll just fill up and I'll use as another backup power source. Though maybe that's going a bit overboard. Maybe I should just go with the extra O2H2 gens so I can fill this up nice and quickly. Might do that first, and the batteries and the turrets as the highest priorities. How to do the O2H2 gens? I can just kind of strap them on like that. Maybe I should put them toward the rear for now. I'll figure out how to cover up their giant ports later. Oh, dang. That's what I should have done. So I didn't need to have all large ports connecting up these cargo containers. I could have put two O2H2 gens in the middle here instead of one of the medium cargo containers. it would have limited the usefulness of this vehicle later if I want to put building materials in it, but oh, it could have worked perfectly for this because it would have fitted in really neatly. Oh, that's kind of annoying. Yeah. Let's drop that on there. Then I'll figure out some supports and some other greebling around it to make it look more interesting later. It certainly wouldn't be particularly well protected, but I could do something a bit weird and just shove a couple of solar panels out from the turrets, kind of as little awnings almost. I'm almost tempted to do that just so that this has some extra redundant power supply. I'll think about that one overnight since there's no benefit in placing it right now. Might as well go and collect some more ice, collect some more iron, and then do that in the morning. Ooh, solar panels, they're down to nothing. I can check to see whether I have generated enough power during the day, and I have, because yesterday that said yesterday that said 3 hours, and now it says 13. So I am doing just fine with the batteries on here. They will gradually gain charge over time. 32 and 6 now. From completely dead and 20 something I think they were. One of the reasons I really like using the large port on small grid Gatling turrets is that whenever you put little bits of piping around the outside of them, they have this really bad tendency of shooting them. So if you can, it does tend to work out better if you can attach via their large port so that they don't shoot themselves. So these things are hopeless at doing that. Let's go do some mining. Oh wait. Became very apparent what I was missing as soon as I got in. I need some spotlights. I was sent a picture of a design that I quite like for the spotlights, and I'm going to steal it. Basically just putting something along the lines of this. Slope. To give it a bit of a support. I may go... No, I'm not going to go one block high. I'm just going to keep it simple. So if I put the spotlight, and I need to make sure I use the high-powered spotlight in there, and if I need to get more light spread later on, I could just extend this out and either have it on the next diagonal block or even one further out and have 4 lights either side. I kind of like the look of the little bug-eyed position that these take up. So my plan is to put all of the trailer controls on the second hotbar. Or at least all the toggle on off ones, and then the attach detach will still be on the first bar. Got the trailer wheels as a group. Toggling them on and off. Because that's particularly important with the subgrid wheel control script. If you don't have that so you can toggle it off, you can get into some very unpleasant situations. Let's turn the programmable block off while we drive down to the mine. So I want to collect plenty of ice and hydrogen to make sure I can get everywhere on just that. Apart from the weight cost, I guess what I was thinking about with the hydrogen tank earlier, I can just carry ice in one of these large cargo containers, so that does increase its flexibility even if it slightly reduces performance. So I probably did go the right way with this. Okay, 97% fuel. I've got something around 10,000 ice on board. Turned off all the O2H2 gens, so I just need to keep an eye on my fuel reserves in my engines, and then when I'm ready I can turn those O2H2 gens back on and refill. I might just collect a bit more ice before I get out of here and head off to one of those iron boulders. It's not the quickest thing, but I am certainly able to just sit here and wait for these engines to fill. Alrighty, tanks are almost full. Time to mine this iron. I'll just see if I can lop this rock off at the surface without detaching from the trailer. See how much iron that gives us. Gotta be careful not to obliterate my turret on that little overhang of ice though. How's that looking inventory-wise? And large cargo container. First one's full with 10,000, 15,000. Woo! Yeah! 30,000. Haven't even filled up the other medium cargo yet. I don't even have to throw away the stone. Nice. Drills aren't even full. This means we are back in proper business. I should even be able to build a little bit of the base with this much. At some point, probably not now, but at some point I will need to remove that bit of overhanging stone because I bet at some point I will come and break myself on it. But I'm thinking I go out and get all the easy bits of stone first. I mean of iron. I keep saying stone. The easy bits of iron first. So kind of lopping these stones off at the boulders off its surface height. And then as soon as I've kind of run out of the easy stuff, I'll then go and do the detach, dig into the ground sort of mining. Let's get this stuff back home and start refining some things. Ooh, hold up. That is very wonky while these wheels are steering. Also, they are very, very low. I'm going to need to increase their strength. Homeward bound with a huge haul. This should definitely set me up for quite a little while. Maybe enough to get a lifter vehicle and a scout vehicle? Well, definitely enough to get both of those. Even though I'm planning to go relatively cheap with the first design on both of them. I'm slightly tempted to just leave the engines running, charging up the big batteries and the little batteries right now. So if I go and park brake on, turn off the trailer wheels, turn off the drive wheels, turn off the programmable block, off the lights, turn off the main lights. The turrets are already off, but I might turn them on since... You are kidding me! You stupid turret! You shot my solar panel! Oh! Oh, that's so annoying. Gotta be kidding me. Oh, the rotten thing with its stupid... I'm gonna keep shooting after I've been told to stop thing. Oh, how much damage did that do? Ow. Figured it made sense to leave the turrets on since, well, they're gonna protect me, but not shoot up my solar panel. That's with just the stone refined. That's how much iron I'm ending up with. I've got a huge amount more in there. I think I've got a real shot of getting at least this wall built, but potentially even more than that. So I'm kind of tempted to go with that, though a wall isn't exactly functional until I get the whole building built and have a fully enclosed space that I can pressurize. Maybe a better plan would be add the extra refinery that I was planning on doing, get a power efficiency module, at least one, onto the assembler, pipe up the assembler to the basic refinery, and maybe even move the O2 tank onto the base with what I've got. I suspect that might be the more useful way to go. Because I've definitely got enough to do all that. Or at least I'm pretty confident I do. You know what? I'm doing it. I am going to try and make this production facility a little more, well, productive. You know, that was 840 before, and it's now down to 560. Okay. That's enough of an improvement. Now we go for our basic refinery. I'm not going to go for the advanced refinery yet, largely because I don't need it yet. They're quite expensive. So I will wait before I go down that path. But it's a path that I feel is in reach now. Oh, I'm so happy with the GUFI-too! Might do these deliberately not the same way around. Oh, this isn't going to have enough. I need to grab some iron out of the other refinery. Should probably also put some more iron ore into the refinery.
Energy.
All the ice has been processed. So now I'm just running off batteries on the GUFI-too. Which is okay for now. I need the conveyors to work, so I have to leave some power running on it. Ooh, that's a thought I hadn't had until just now. The nice thing about the second refinery is I won't have to worry about inventory space quite so much. With just one of them, I am struggling. Oh, speaking of... Should I instead put a cargo container? No, don't put a cargo container. That'd be a bad idea. Now, we get double the refining rate. Not that I really needed the rate. It was just, I always planned on putting that there, so figure out I may as well, rather than building some conveyors through the spot and then ultimately getting rid of it anyway. But for now, it kind of does have a use because this refinery is too slow for the amount of iron I've got for me to do this all in one go. I think that's both of them full. Yes, it is. I guess the next thing I should figure out is where I'm going to put an O2H2 gen on here and where I'm going to put the oxygen tank so that I can slap a vent down, fill up the tank and stop using the tank that's on the survival kit pod. Then I could... Oh, I should probably leave it on there when I take that underground. Yeah, I'll leave that. I was kind of thinking whether I could get rid of this oxygen tank for when I take this underground, but I suspect it might be better off left on there as a little extra safety measure so that I've got one underground as well if I end up having to run away to this thing. Oh, but I am really, really happy with how well the GUFI-too has gone. I've properly got an amount of iron that I can do stuff with. Make real progress. I've got a bunch of interior plate over here. Let's put down a little bit more of this floor so it's a bit easier to move around. Which will be... Let's get rid of a few of these things. Start planning out my hotbars better. So that's bar 2. Interior wall. Oh yeah, I think I know how I'm going to do this. So O2H2 gen here, then pipe around the corner, O2 tank down on the ground here, and then if I decide to put an extra tank on top of it, when I pipe out the end here to go up to the assembler, I can pipe out the end here, then put a junction, then go across to the assembler. That junction will allow me to put a second tank on top. I want to have some pretty good oxygen storage, since I'm planning on filling these spaces with it. So I'll need to have like vehicular airlocks and all that sort of stuff, which is going to use up a fair bit of space and a fair bit of oxygen to set up properly, I think. Especially as I'll tend to possibly be a little bit wasteful in how I use the airlocks, I reckon. Slash, I'll do things by accident and vent huge amounts of oxygen at a time, so it'd probably be good to have some decent storage capacity. I know the tanks hold a fair amount, but I don't really know how that compares to, say, a large room like this production facility is going to be. So, O2H2 gen. Oxygen tank. Oh, if I can get myself on top of the O2H2 gen, I can just stick a vent up there for the moment. If I can reach that from the top. So I could fill this right now. I wonder how long that battery's going to last, because it is a lot less full than it was when I last looked. I need to use some of these newfound resources to build some proper big batteries on the base. One of the suggestions I had was to use the space underneath these production blocks to build them, and maybe I'll put them underneath the conveyor tubes, so I'll put a battery on the floor there. Because I need to have the batteries in here anyway. And I've fallen in a hole in the floor that I have to grind my way out of. Wonderful. I'll need to build the batteries in here anyway, and if I put them there, I should be able to detach anything that I need to without grinding through the battery, which is obviously best avoided. Okay, is that everything out of there? Yes, it is. I'll turn all the batteries off and save what power I can. Now, normally I don't turn vehicles fully off like this. Normally, I avoid it because of the risk of cleanup, destroying it, and just accidentally doing that in a save where I do have cleanup on. Now, I've got cleanup off. I suspended it a while ago. See, the enable button is active, so I've got it turned off, so that won't get deleted, but it's just one of those things I'm always a bit nervous about, because it's pretty awful when you get back to your base and something you spent a long time building just got deleted. straight up deleted is just a horrible feeling. That's what I made on top. For now, it can act as a decompression, and later it can be the room filling vent. Assuming I can place it. From up here. Oh, I'm so tempted. So tempted to jump if I have to. No, that's going to be safer once I've placed it. And then I can jump down onto it with all the parts already in my inventory. This could hurt. But it didn't. Okay, how far did I just fall? 1, 2.5 blocks. I'm going to have to do my best to remember that height is a height that is safe. Or at least was safe on this occasion. Because in my experience, it's not always the case that these things work consistently. Auto refill. Here we go. We have a new source of O2. I'm going to move all of these bottles. Actually, I'm going to use 2 of the bottles. I'm going to move 2 of them, not all of them. So I think I should use the one on the base now instead of using the one on the survival kit wherever possible. I am super happy with how this is going. That is a lot more than I expected to get done. Now, do I try and connect the assembler up? I think I should, so that I stop having to convey stuff across that gap. I still think I've got enough. That unknown signal is slightly tempting. This way at least I remove one step out of the whole moving iron ore into here, and then moving the iron ingots into the assembler. The assembler will now be able to pull it directly from the refineries. And it's weird to have a conveyor system in Space Engineers be an achievement. Normally it's just the default. You just do it. But I feel like now that I've got this proper mining truck up and running, even if I have to just go collect stone, this carries enough that the load of stone should give me a few thousand iron. And a few thousand iron does get some progress done. So as long as I don't get it shot up... I shouldn't laugh because it'll probably happen. But as long as I don't get it shut up too soon, it should put me in a position where I can get some real forward momentum going. Why do I not have...
Energy critical.
Why not do that one? Weird. I thought I would get... I've gotten all of them. There we go. Piped up. Oh, I could prep for when I run Izzy's inventory manager, or an inventory manager on here. And go to my tank. And set it up for bottles. Like so. That way, when I go in, all I need to do is type TT. And I can pop my bottles in and bring it back out. And that's pretty easy. It means I can do it from anywhere on the base now, or anywhere on this little loop. Excellent. It is all coming together. I'm going to make one large grid battery before I finish for today, before I let sunrise be the beginning of the next episode. So, battery. How much material does that use up? Not too bad, really. I'm going to be very tight on nickel now, so I'm going to have to mine some stone, because I don't believe I found any nickel boulders. I did not. I only found cobalt, iron, magnesium, and silicon. Okay. Yes, I know what I'm going to be doing soon, which is mining a whole lot of stone. I think it's worth getting this battery up and running, even though I have just used up all of my remaining nickel to do so. Because I want to have as much charge saving up on this base as possible. And I'm probably going to repurpose this battery to make my next vehicle. Well, I definitely am now that I've used up all the nickel. But I was thinking of doing it anyway. Come on, get this done before sunrise. Come on, get finished before sunrise. Come on. Battery done. Let's just put all the other bits in it because I don't want to lose battery. Having some ability for it to get shot once or twice before it gets destroyed would be nice. Battery. Fully depleted in 3 hours. Wonderful. Fully recharged in 1 day. Okay. That's pretty slow. But at least it's getting charged. There we go. Battery complete. We have a battery ready to go for the next vehicle. I wonder if I'll build the Maybe I'll build the lifting vehicle off this. I should be able to use this battery on either the lifter vehicle or the scout vehicle, if I can figure out a way to get that to work. And now that I'm thinking about the fact that I've got batteries, I don't think I'm going to be able to go the unicycle design for the scout vehicle. I think I'm going to have to go with 2 wheels, so a motorcycle style design. And this battery should fit neatly in the middle of a motorbike style design. So, plan for next week, now that I've thought about the motorbike. Stone, lifter vehicle, motorbike, scouting. You know, assuming the assertive cargo ships don't have other plans for me, which is entirely possible. So there's all that, and hopefully plenty more to come. And I will see you then. Looking forward to starting with the beautiful sunrise.